Pleasure to welcome you all to the Center for Environment Education, Ahmedabad. On behalf of entire CE team, I extend my heartfelt welcome to each one of you. Today we are gathered for special session titled Emerge in Sustainability, the role of CSR in driving sustainable development. This session aimed to delve into the vital relationship between corporate social responsibility and sustainable development, uh, emphasizing how business can act powerful agent for positive change. Today we have with us uh, Mr. Punit Lalbhai and welcome, sir. Before we begin our session, it's my honor to invite our esteemed director, Mr. Kartikeya Sarabhai, to deliver the opening remarks for today's session.
Thank you, Tara. We're sorry for this slight delay in starting this session because some of the parallel sessions are very actively engaged in discussion, but they will soon be joining us. CSR is become a very important part of the whole development strategy of this country. And just to tell you about CEE, when we started in '84, nearly 90% of our funding came from government sources. Today, CSR constitutes nearly 50% of what we do. And the whole thinking of government, that one was that you tax people, you take the tax, and then the government decides how that is to be spent for a development cause. Here, in CSR, you are engaging business. It's not only the money, because the money could have been taxed, but you are engaging business in thinking of using their own skills in management, skills in understanding development. Of course, those understandings might be different. And I remember when the first year or two of CSR started, many CSRs were trying to formulate what is the development process, because that had not been, in many cases, part of their experience or part of their charter. However, if you meet people today in businesses, especially the larger businesses, there is a very deep understanding of environmental issues and sustainability issues. Business has now again come back, as they were to some extent pre-independence, as part of a national cause, not just the manufacturing but doing it. And some have set up their own foundations and work through foundations, others through partnerships, some through both. But it's having a huge impact on meeting national goals. So we are very happy today to have all of you here to really discuss how CSR can play a more important role in sustainability and sustainable development, the environment protection, and going sometimes beyond CSR and what do. We are very fortunate to have Punit Lalbhai here from Arvind Mills, because I was telling him he represents a tradition of Ahmedabad which is very old, and I was telling him that it's perhaps one of the few families which I know. I have worked actually with 4 generations of that family, continue to work with them, because that tradition was intricately connected to development right from the beginning. And his great-grandfather and my father worked very closely in terms of institutional building in the city of Ahmedabad, whether it was Atira or PRL in 47 and several others later. And also their larger interest in developing the Ahmedabad Education Society, which is perhaps unique in most cities, that you have a whole large district, and now the 2 universities have come up. So I thought it would be good to hear from Punit, because this commitment came long before CSR became a law, and it was imbibed inside it. So I thought, Punit, if you can share some ideas here on and he's moved himself, having done a degree in Yale on wildlife and ecology. So he is in that sense one of us doing this work, but is very much now in the business. So Puneet, if I can ask you to say something first.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Karthikeya bhai, for the introduction and the opportunity to speak about a topic that's extremely close to my heart. Ever since I've been with Arvind, 2007 onwards, I've thought deeply about how the corporation sort of extends its influence in society, what we now call CSR. And I've seen the way we used to work before the law and certain aspects that have changed after the law. I think the law is a good addition. I think it helps us bring focus, it helps us bring urgency, and it helps bring certainty to monies being spent. I think those are all good things. But if I look at our own experience, I feel that there are things that one needs to be careful about, because a lot of the conversation around CSR has become a compliance-based conversation. It has become, yes, good work is happening, but it is happening within the confines of being compliant. And the boards of companies are just as worried about timeliness of expenditure than the quality of projects. So as Karthikeya bhai was talking about, I have 3 areas that I'd like to stress that anybody working in the field of CSR should think deeply about, and how it applies to their own context. The first one is bringing back the old spirit in conjunction with complying to the law. The spirit of that Mahajan tradition that Karthikeya bhai spoke about, where there was a very deep recognition that the corporation is a function and product of the society it operates in. Its success has a direct impact on the communities that it has influence with, and some of its success should resonate or improve the communities in which it operates. So I think there needs to be that soul searching. Is our CSR strategy doing this? Are we improving the society in which we are embedded in, and thereby mutually benefiting? Is there a symbiotic relationship between the programs that we are funding, the programs that we are executing ourselves in some cases, and the purpose of the organization and the influence that we have in the community? So we had, a very forward-thinking and inspirational gentleman by the name of Dr. Mote, an IIM professor, who designed this philosophy of how corporate strengths and corporate influence must be a primary yardstick in designing CSR programs. So that's number one, bringing the Mahajan spirit back and being socially relevant in your strength areas and in the communities that you operate. Number two, I think this urgency of spending has also made us think short term. If you really sit back and think, and this is what I've realized over time, and some of the best programs that we are most proud of actually took place over decades. So how do we lengthen the horizon of our thinking? How do we fund programs and not projects? Sometimes funding projects, there's no harm in funding projects, but the core substance of how you are going to bring about change needs to be thought over decades, because change isn't easy. It's getting more and more difficult in the complex environments that we operate in. And unless you are there, unless you are consistent, unless you are there through thick and thin, unless you build trust, unless you garner partnerships, unless you compensate for 2 years of failure with 5 years of success, you're not going to see any long-term change. So how do we lengthen, point number 2 is, how do we lengthen the thought process or the horizon of our thinking around rolling out sustainability programs or CSR programs. And finally, the third and most important trend that I'm observing is I'm seeing some wonderful CSR programs happening. I'm quite proud of the few of the ones that we are rolling out ourselves. But when you look at them in the context of the change required, they are mere drops in the ocean. They are lighthouse projects. Their only value is to show that good work can be done. Have we moved the needle? No. Do we have enough 2% of our spending, even if I'm proactively spending 5% of my profit? Can I bring about real change? If I'm really honest with myself, the answer is no. We do good work, we change maybe a few lives, but have we changed the fabric of society? No. We've created lighthouse projects, and we go from one lighthouse project to the next lighthouse project. How do we build convergence of good ideas? Can 100 people work on the same problem, 100 people with the same passion, the same vision, the same energy or complementary energy, complementary strengths, pool resources to solve problems once and for all? So my CSR, your CSR, how can it become our collective CSR? I think not enough work is being done. There are now new platforms coming up where there are sort of marketplaces for CSR, matchmaking for, money needing a good project to fund, all of that. Those are sort of matrimony sites or matrimony initiatives. Some of them are doing very good job. But how do we combine the Mahajan tradition, long-term thinking, passion, and collective action? And the question for the people in this room is, how do we step beyond company lines or beyond organizational lines, part with some of the recognition and credit, and come up with 3 or 4 projects within the state of Gujarat or wherever you are operating that one can say we actually moved the needle. So I think the whole focus needs to shift from legality, compliance, to spirit and moving the needle. So that's my brief message. It's the sum and substance of a lot of thinking and tinkering with our philosophy. It may resonate, may not, but I just thought that I've been given this opportunity, so I'll share these 3 pointers with you. Thank you very much. Wish you all the best.
Thank you so much, Mr. Punit and Mr. Kartikeya Sarabhai, for inspiring and insightful opening remarks. We deeply appreciate your words and direction provided by you. Now I would like to request our director to facilitate Punit Bhai with traditional case. Thank you. So we are now about to begin our panel discussion. This discussion is designed to provide deep insight into the role of CSR in driving sustainable development. To begin our first theme, align synergy with national and global SDGs, I am pleased to invite Mr. Duleep Surkar to the stage, who will be moderating this session. Mr. Dilip Surkar has over 3 decades of experience primarily in the development and NGO sector in the field of conservation and sustainable development. At present, Mr. Surkar is the Executive Director of Vikram A. Sarabhai Community Center, Ahmedabad, and he is also Director of Viksat and Institute working in the natural resource management area. Welcome, sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Dhara. Now may I invite the panelists for this session, Mr. Munjal Desai, Shri Ashok Khosla. Do we have Ashok ji here? So then my next panelist is Mr. Paresh Vora. So, Dhara, do we proceed with 2 panelists or should we wait for? Okay. Please, sir. Thank you, Mr. Amit Garg, for joining us as a panelist. Okay. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to moderate this discussion on critical role of corporate social responsibility in driving sustainable development. Over the years, CSR has evolved beyond the conventional philosophy, the spirit that Puneet was mentioning here, to become a strategic lever for achieving long-term meaningful impact. When aligned with national and global sustainable development goals, CSR initiatives can amplify their effectiveness and contribute directly to sustainability efforts. CSR has supported various initiatives addressing different SDGs. In fact, CSR has been critical, at least in our national context, CSR has been critical beyond government in achieving targets of most of the SDGs. I'll just give you some example. For example, SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, CSR has been supporting drinking water and sanitation projects addressing public health and hygiene issues. Under CSR, under SDG 4, quality education, for example, CSR has been supporting school education, complementing schools with STEM education. Under SDG 7, affordable and clean energy, that resonates with India's renewable energy push. CSR has been supporting solar electrification, windmills, and biogas plants. Under SDG 13, for example, climate action, corporates are focusing on green building designs, carbon offset program, which are central to ESG strategies. I have seen so many examples. For example, rural schools in Gujarat I have visited, which are funded by CSR, promoting STEM hands-on education. Some community-led solar microgrid projects that provide clean energy to underserved households and empower local rural women. So today, under this session, we aim to explore how businesses can build impactful partnerships with governments and civil society, ensuring synergies that are scalable, accountable, and innovative. This discussion will focus on aligning CSR strategies with SDGs to ensure effective resource utilization, and foster collaboration, mutual accountability, and shared learning for sustainable development. Let me now introduce our esteemed panelists. We have with us Mr. Munjal Desai. He is a dynamic professional with expertise in agribusiness, education, and sustainable development. He has led impactful initiatives such as expanding the foundation's reach to Gujarat's Narmada district, developing over 2,000 educational videos, and implementing the Paryavaran Prayogshala project in 6,000 schools. His work integrates environment education, vocational training, and technological advancement in farming, aligning with the National Education Policy 2020. He is program manager with the Dr. K.R. Shroff Foundation. Our next panelist is Mr. Paresh Vora, Director of India Operations of Wind Foundation USA. Mr. Vora is a seasoned management professional with extensive expertise in operations, business development, and people management. He has worked across high technology industries, including software, systems, telecom, and engineering, showcasing his versatility and leadership. Our next panelist is Mr. Sorry, sir. No. So I'm trying to, okay. But I can give a brief introduction. Mr. Gaj, I have fond memories of interacting with him at the sustainability conference in Delhi, which was hosted by Mobius Foundation. He is president of the Mobius Foundation after his superannuation as the very, very senior IS officer from Government of India. Sir, I don't have a formal biography of yours, so I will not be able to get into the detailed introduction. So with this short introduction, I would like to invite our panelists to say or take us through the discussion and give us their thoughts on this topic. I have a few questions that I would like you to address, and I don't have a specific question for specific panelists, but I'll just read out 2-3 questions that I would like you to address during this discussion. What are some key CSR initiatives that align strategically with ESG related SDG targets? If you could share some best practices or examples of successful partnerships that have created synergies between corporates, governments, and civil society. How can businesses better align their CSR strategies with SDG priorities to ensure measurable and scalable outcomes? What is the role that innovation play in enhancing the impact of CSR initiatives, particularly in addressing global challenges like climate change? So may I first invite Mr. Paresh Vora to say a few words, please.
Good evening, thank you, and thanks for the privilege for addressing this gathering of so many experts. So essentially, of course, we all talk of Viksit Bharat, and we know that it requires also Viksit communities, not just the nation by itself doesn't become Viksit, it's also the people who have to be. And this, as Dr. Surkar mentioned in one of the points, that we need to increase the innovation quotient. Our innovation quotient in social impact work is very, very low. We tend to use either traditional methods saying, oh, they were the good old methods and we should bring them back, or we bring a lot of methods which may have been successful in some other parts of the world. With the result that in social impact projects, we often face very low efficiency and low effectiveness. And science and technology or new business processes or new modern processes, they require continuous interaction, interactive and iterative processes. So it requires interaction as well as iterations amongst the stakeholders. And so if we want to, because there is from science and research to technology or business processes to skills, to practice habits, and then it should become traditions which tomorrow's generation feels proud to follow. Now that's a very long chain, it's a very interactive chain, and it requires all the stakeholders to interact and iterate. We should be ready to iterate. Success doesn't come in a top-down fashion in first try. So some of our experiences and some examples I'll cite that For water, for example, we have tried to bring, even in CE projects, conservation and smart, so for village communities, bringing sensor technologies from startups, from Indian startups. And then among some women nutri gardeners, so we, in fact, in one of the CE areas in Jasdan, there is a farmer a small farmer with a small farm is growing 129 varieties of plants, all organically. And we had a visit there, and we actually immediately arranged from our Kutch partners a visit of 12 women. The 12 women, were descended on that farmer and picked up a lot of things. So these are the kind of things we have to also, so there is also learning both ways. It is not, that's what I meant by saying it cannot be top down alone. In nutrition, we bring technology for nutritious food production, quality, and business knowledge to women in communities to produce nutritious food. Here again, in fact, one of the divisions of NFD CEE is a partner with other partners, and the recipes get developed by IIT G and IITB nutrition groups, and through our nutrition staff, they perfect it, they make it production ready. But it is finally the women nutripreneurs of the society who try out in many forms, try with the customers, and that makes the final viable product. If we think that only the IIT produce the final product, that will never be true. So this iterative process is iterative, that we have to learn back from the grassroots, and that has to be, so bringing collaborations amongst institutions, NGO partners, communities, CSR, but through continuous interaction and iteration is the key. So that people have to be ready to learn. Community members have to be treated as grassroots scientists. And without their feedback, no innovation can mature. No products can mature. So some of the few things which, based on our learnings, we would like to suggest is all stakeholders should actively encourage some kind of innovation quotient within their activities and organization. Even if you are merely an implementing organization, try to find some new way to implement. So much like an R&D budget of organization, say something like 5%, or the exact percentage is not that sacrosanct, but you have to bring that thinking that you have to try new things. There should be a tolerance for trial and sometimes failure also, to learn from it. Particularly CSR NGO staff must be trained in this art of interaction and iteration for any transformation. Otherwise, we tend to just try to apply top-down approach, and that does not, bring innovations to maturity. That's a small point I wanted to make. I'm sure other people will have more things to share on the other topics. Thank you very much.
May I now invite Mr. Munjal Desai from KR Shop Foundation. If you could specifically focus on civil society point of view on the topic.
Good evening, everyone. So I represent Dr. K.R. Shroff Foundation, and it was part of CSR initiative of company called Infochips, and now currently it is a philanthropic initiative of Mr. Pratul Shroff. So when we started our work in 2012, our core focus area was we focus on particularly on education. We also identify healthcare and agriculture as key areas where we really want to work, and we really wanted to put in effort and move the needle, as sir rightly pointed out. So when we started in 2012, we focused on tribal belts of Gujarat, where we really felt that there is some need to work or join our efforts with the government to improve the education level across Gujarat. So we started recruiting teachers in the tribal belt, so that there was some challenge in recruiting people, because we really needed people with hunger, with fire, who can drive the drive the initiative and project and take it forward. So currently we are working with approximately 80,000 students across Gujarat, and we work across different verticals. We work with talking about FLN, foundational literacy and numeracy. We work on environment education. We work on, this is very important, Sanskar Sinchan. We call it Sanskar Sinchan, where we teach these things can't be taught, but ultimately you need to incorporate these traits in your life, like honesty, leadership, empathy. All of this aspect we try to cover for our students. So talking about the SDG, like our core focus area is on quality education, but at the same time we are also ensuring that there is gender equality. I'm happy to share that more than 60% of the members in our team are female participants, and we have observed that they are more punctual or particular in their work. So this is, I'm really pushing this, that lot of this shared effort lead to higher productivity. The other thing I wanted to highlight is that since our founder comes from the corporate background, he emphasizes on bringing focus in the social sector. So I have observed earlier that some of the NGOs who work in the traditional way, but our founder focuses on, you bring in laser focus, you set the targets, objectives, and when you work with shared vision, you get really good results. So we are working with lot of small scale NGOs across Gujarat, whom we mentor, whom we train, and then we try to replicate those models in different parts of Gujarat. So the core idea and philosophy of our work is that we have developed scalable and replicable models in education particularly. So whenever we want to work with different NGOs, partnership or government organization, then it is easily scalable and we can take it forward. So one thing, as sir rightly pointed out, we need to constantly innovate. So we are really working on that aspect as well, that our education journey, it starts from foundational, like basic from Anganwadi till grade 12, but after that now our focus is on livelihood. How to ensure that these people who are working in tribal belts of Gujarat can earn from livelihood. So I visited Viksat in Poshina. So that is the area where we are working. So we are really impressed with the work and how they work with pulses and millets, and how the self-help groups, and they are promoting agriculture as well. So that was the whole idea. So we need to work on scalability and replicability of the models by bringing laser focus on whatever we do in this sector. So thank you.
Thank you, Munjal Bhai. Now I have pleasure inviting Mr. Praveen Garg, President of Mobius Foundation. Sir, you have been on different sides of the table. You have been in the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change as a Special Secretary. So we would like to hear from you, your take on when you were in part of the government and now you are heading a foundation which is essentially a CSR arm. So having seen these different sides of the table, what is your take on this whole topic?
Good evening to everyone. Of course, I am the intruder, and I'll throw some light on CSR, then on BRSR, then which are the areas which should be the focus of CSR funds, and what Mobius Foundation is doing. So the section 135 of the Companies Act provides for 2% of the net profits to be used for CSR, corporate social responsibility. And there is a whole set of rules how to use it, how to protect it, how to, if it is not spent, so what Mr. Lalbhai was saying, so there is little pressure on the board that it has to be spent quickly within 2 years or within 3 years. You can't carry it forward. You can't accumulate it. So CSR is a very good initiative of the government, I would say Ministry of Corporate Affairs, to provide this 2% there. And when we had our ICSC, I think 2 years back, then there was something on CSR. So I had suggested, and we can still suggest to the government, that out of 2% earmarked for CSR, 1% should be earmarked for SDG goals. Government can make it mandatory, and seeing the climate change disasters happening all over, it can be done. So, of course, we will make a recommendation, but I'll request everyone to talk about it so that 1% of the CSR funds go to climate action side, rather going to other areas. And the government also, the regulator of the securities market where the major companies are listed, they have come out with something called BRSR. So that is also business responsibility and sustainability reporting. And it has become very buzzword now, that is ESG. And they have to give the reports, and the top 1,000 listed companies have to do that. So that's a little improvement, and there's a difference between ESG and CSR. ESG is for the corporate to follow the rules, and SEBI, which is the regulator, securities regulator, has made some rating agencies, which are called ESG rating agencies, which will rate the corporates. Now, how does it matter? It matters when the corporates go to raise the money in the market. Like there are mutual fund schemes which are focusing on ESGs. So the performance of the corporates would matter that way, because they have to carry some reputation, build the image of themselves. Many corporates are saying that they will be net zero by 2050, 2070 or 2040. So these are the different, but little overlap is there and interconnected areas, BRSR and the CSR. And I'll be very now these areas can be, you see, education, what I have noticed, and I'm on 3 boards of 3 companies, and 1 is listed and 2 are unlisted so far. So there's a CSR committee in all these boards. So kind of proposals which come in there, of course the profits are not huge in these companies. They are generally, driven by the directors or driven by the managing director. They know somebody. If I know him, then I'll say, why don't you put your proposal? And then it passes through. So that, that continuity or that longevity of the project is not there, or long-term thinking is not there. So it needs to be emphasized in the corporate sector also, that it should not be the, little bias of the directors to allocate CSR funds to the people whom they know, or based on their performance. Some, of course, there will be references would be coming in, and based on that they will be doing it. And after evaluation, if they find the reference is good enough, then why not to give to that society or that NGO those kind of funds. What I have seen sitting on the boards, it is essentially on education, health, nutrition. These are the 3 areas. Environment, I have not seen much, because these are long-term activities like doing plantations, measuring the plantations, impact of the plantations, or doing something on carbon credits. I have not noticed much. It's simply just education or health. That is taking the cake, major part of the cake from the CSR funds. A good idea could be making a hub. Like I know about this, it used to have a hub 3 years back, where they try to connect the funding company and the NGOs. They try to do that matchmaking. Of course, he was saying matrimony, which happens. So that kind of, connection can be established, which can be more, objective while taking a decision rather than subjective. So that is my, so far, my board experience, and seeing the CSR committees. Of course, I'm not in any of the CSR committees. I'm on, generally, I happen to be, before joining the IAS, I happen to be a chartered accountant. So they all put me in the audit committee, which is the major committee. And CSR committee, they don't put me, but I have all the intention to influence the CSR committee so that it goes into the climate action side. And if you take our experience of Mobius Foundation, we are not a CSR company, we are not a CSR wing, but we are contributing on population stabilization, which is more or less health, or we are creating that, you see the population is growing. Of course, TFR of the whole country is now only 2.1, but there are certain portions of the country which are less than 2.1, and I was pleasantly surprised, like Jammu and Kashmir, and these are the areas where, or even the Western UP is less than 2.1. So we are focusing our programs on where the TFR is 3 or more than 3. So there are 8 districts in UP which have been taken up for population stabilization program, and we also fund to the NGOs, and they are like Population Foundation of India, it's again an NGO, then Janani, it's again an NGO. Then the second part which we are doing is a 100 schools program, and the girls' education, essentially the girls' education in the rural areas. These are the most backward areas of the country, of Chhattisgarh, of not Chhattisgarh, of Jhansi and Bundelkhand area, then the tribal areas of Madhya Pradesh. So we have so far adopted around 17 plus 15, 32 schools. And we are starting from class 8. Initially we thought of taking it to 9th, 10th and 11th. But we realized the foundation is so weak that we can't improve it in class 9th and 10th. So we just focus on class 8. When they go on class 9th, then we'll continue working with them. So this is the Mobius Foundation's activities, of course, which are more or less CSR kind of activities, but we are not a CSR fund. Thank you for giving me time to speak here. Thanks.
Thank you, sir, for all the insightful thoughts. I would like to thank all the panelists with the last concluding message that we need to, while implementing CSR supported projects or programs, we need to move beyond compliance and ensure that we bring back the spirit, achieve change at scale, and also achieve long-term impacts. Otherwise, it's possible that we could have fully compliant CSR, but may miss out on so many other things and could have a situation where normally we say in our rural programs group that we could have successful operation, but patient may have died. So we don't want to have that and have not just fully compliant CSR, but a CSR with spirit, long-term impact and impact at scale. Thank you. Thank you all the panelists.
Thank you, Dilip sir, and thank you all the panel members. Now I would like to request Mr. Dilip Sulkar to facilitate our panelists with traditional case. Thank you, all of you. So our next panel will focus on partnering between CSR, NGO and government for development goal and scaling up impact through education and innovation. For this panel discussion, I would like to invite Mr. Prabhjot Sodhi to the stage to moderate this session. Mr. Sodhi is distinguished expert in circular economy with 40 years of experience spanning program management, policy, advisory and capacity building. He currently serves as a senior program director for circular economy at the Center for Environment Education, director at MRAI India and advisory to Earth Day Network India. Welcome, sir.
without taking much time, very good evening to all of you. Ladies and gentlemen, could I invite onto the dais Shri B.K. Singhal, CGM NABARD. Please join us. It'll be a great pleasure to have you, ladies and gentlemen. Please give them a big hand. They deserve all that after putting in so many years of hard work. They very much deserve that. We also have Dr. A.P. Singh, Head of the Forest Department and Indian Forest Services Officer. Welcome to the dais, sir. It's a great pleasure having you. Please give him a big hand. We have with us Ms. Neetu Kumar, Senior Manager from CSR Aprava. Welcome. It's wonderful to have you. Thank you for joining us. And Sivam Goriwala. Could we also have you on the panel, sir? Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, give them a big hand. Their introductions. She's also there? Okay. There's another panelist, Ms. Aishwarya Balasubramaniam from HCL Foundation. Wonderful to have you, please. I know HCL Foundation doing a very big work in New Delhi, where I come from. Please join on the dais. Okay. So, I know it's late in the evening, but we have people with a lot of experience here, and the 4 dimensions which are given across. There is government on one side, there is civil society on the other, there is academics, and there is the industry. So these 4 form the 4 corners for sustainability or regenerative economy, which they call circular economy for all types of materials. Without going into it, I just want to say that each of the pillars which we have represented here do have a real investment. While the corporates really focus on what Lal Bhai said, they are compelled to be for 3 years or 3.5 years because of the CSR norms like that, and the continuity becomes a real challenge, because I'm also working with HDFC and Hyundai as corporates, so I can fully understand. But they not only provide financial resources, ladies and gentlemen, they also provide the activeness for achieving onto the business impact sustainable development goals. That's what the corporates really do, ensuring sustainability and scalability of all the initiatives which they fund for. If we come to the government, we have 2 people from the government. We have from the bank, and we have also from the government, from the forest department. Now, the government is really very important in any fact. Where I'm working with the HDFC Bank and Hyundai, we partner with the Ministry of Jal Shakti, we partner with the district collectors, the CEOs, Zilla Parishads, and they really create the policy frameworks and the regulatory support and access to public service and infrastructure. And not only that, they really give legitimacy to what we are doing to really see the scaling up of these initiatives. That's what you do, sir, and we really acknowledge the fact that you give us the space to really work. Thank you so much. And if I take the other side, when we have the NGOs or the academic institutions like we have you, sir, you really connect the disconnects and really put together to ensure effectiveness of those interventions and inclusivity. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very interesting panel. I would first request Mr. P.K. Singhal, CGM NABARD, to really take the floor, sir. Your comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sodiji. Very good evening to all. First, I was just looking at the logo, CEE 40. So I must congratulate CEE for completing 40 years. So big round of applause. Am I right? Because I make out CEE 40. So Probably my interpretation is right. I want to talk about NABARD because this CSR is quite close to me because I worked in the field also. But few things I would like to bring to the house. Just in previous panel, Mahajan tradition and the lengthening of the program. I thought over it and I feel it should be three-dimensional. Length should be there, depth and breadth. Breadth means coverage. And depth because our growth should be inclusive, equitable and sustainable. So any CSR program, it should be three-dimensional. This is my thought. Another suggestion from Garg Saab, 1% should go to climate action. It's a well-deserved suggestion. But I had been giving one suggestion since 2008. Corporate rural development responsibility. I analyzed 9 listed companies' data myself. And I found their contribution towards rural development and agriculture is ranging from 2.7% to 32%. And on average, it's 7%, meager 7%. It was around 800 crores, out of 800 crores, 60 crores only for rural development. So, it can be 1% because half of the population or more than that, little more than that, lives in rural areas. So, 50% of the 2% means 1% at least should go to rural areas. This is because based on the data I am giving, of course it's a small data set, but if we extrapolate, it must be the same. Now third thing, I am proud to say as two institutions here, well known in Ahmedabad, for this social responsibility well before this legislation. Sir, Sarabhai sir and Lalji bhai, they are known, and on the same way I can say proudly, NABARD since its inception 1982 is contributing towards social responsibility. Of course, we are not falling under these guidelines. We are not bound by this because NABARD is not a company. So every year we are doing lot of social projects, whether in the space of NRM, whether in the space of upskilling, or in the space of skill development, FPO promotions, and collectivization. There is a major program, and recently with Atul Foundation, this is the first village with CSR Foundation as Green Village. NABARD has collaborated in India. There are 3 green villages, 2 under the aegis of panchayats and 1 by CSR in Valsad area. That is in collaboration with NABARD. So, and we are working, as the title is, working with NGO partners and CSR foundations. Now I would give some data. We are working with 3,000 plus CSOs or NGOs. We are working with 115 CSR foundation across India, 550 projects, and NABARD contribution is 500 crore. So Of course, we are working with NGOs also, but this is about CSR foundations, and in NRM space, we have worked with NGO partners in watershed development, in body development. We have treated in collaboration with NGOs 25 lakh hectare area, and 6 lakh tribal families have been benefited from tribal development projects. So this is the volume we are working with. Now, I would agree with the previous panelist that it is supply driven or board driven. It should be demand driven. Society, what society needs. And one fantastic thing, Lalji Bhai, he was mentioning moving the needle, but needle is very heavy. So see problems, if we suppose one company, if they implement one project, it won't give any impactful outcome. So what is to be done? It's a collaboration, convergence. All the stakeholders should converge their fund, and we do believe in convergence. We always welcome convergence. We invite partners because first is it gives synergy. We learn institutional cross learning, that is very important. So that needle can be moved only when we converge our funds, we converge our efforts. I won't take much time, probably I'm jumping my time. Anyway, so with these words, of course there are a lot of things, but with the constraint of time, I would like to end my discussion here only. Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you, Kartike Bhai, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
While he spoke so many things about NABARD, I must tell you something about NABARD, the beauty, before I invite the next speaker. You know, NABARD has been taken up about 7 or 8 years back, correct me sir, as the GEF, Global Environment, GEF Agency Managing.
Actually, national entity for climate action fund, there are 4 funds being operated under the aegis of, few funds under the aegis of Ministry of Environment and Forest.
Absolutely.
And one is
Global Environment.
Fund.
Yes.
GCF, Global Climate Fund.
Yes. So what I was trying to say was that don't miss out on Dr. Singhal. We have many opportunities here, and that fund can be accessed by NGOs as well. And that's very creditable, and you would be very happy to know that Center for Environment Education has been handling as a small grants partner under the GEF, Global Environment Facility, for 18 years. Thank you to Mr. Sarabhai, who has been spearheading this. I must congratulate Dr. A.P. Singh for taking over as head of the Forest Department, and it's wonderful to have you, sir. I know I met you long years back when I was handling the DFED project, when we were working in the Panchmahal region. But ladies and gentlemen, give a big hand. He's the head of the Forest Department for the government of Gujarat. Floor is yours, sir. Please.
Director CEE, Dr. Kartike Sarabhai, all experts, my co-panelists, and dear participants. I'm really honored to be invited for this August gathering. I'm associated with CEE since 20 years. I have started work when I was the member secretary Gujarat Biodiversity Board. the preparation of People's Biodiversity Register and Joint Forest Management Committee, etc. But the Gujarat Forest Department or Forest and Environment Department is very much related to this institution. But we are also looking after the Sustainable Development Goals number 14 and 15, life below water and life on the earth. So nothing is left from the Forest Department. But unfortunately, the Forest Department is not taking any CSR activities. No fund is taken by the Forest Department in these activities. We are conserving our forests, wildlife, and propagating tree outside of the forest. And the sustainability of the local people or community is very much required. So, looking this era of CSR 2%, lot many agencies and institutions are coming to the Forest Department and requesting that, sir, we are having this much of money, you just take it and do this work for the nature conservation. We have tried with the government as the rule and the ethics. No government department can take in the money from other institutions. So, the Forest Department is a government department. We are not taking any single penny for the conservation of nature. But lot of pressures are there, and our line conservation project in Gir Forest is going on. Then in 2007 some poaching cases were taking place. Then the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, Narendra Modi sir, visited those areas, and that time we have created a society that is called Lion Conservation Society. So whatever amount is given for the cause of the conservation of lion and Gir forest, we are only taking whatever money is provided by the nature lovers for the conservation of lions in Gujarat only. Other than this activity, Gujarat Forest Department is not partnering to any institutions to carry out the nature conservation work through CSR funds. But this is a need of the hour. Now we have formulated a policy how to go about it, the plantations activities, the Van Kavach or Miyawaki plantations. Lot of work are coming up after the corona and the problem of environment, global warming, a lot many things are going on. And you know, the Gujarat is one of the emerging developing state, urbanized state, industrially rich state, but the forest cover and forest land is very limited. We are only having 11% of the forest land of the geographical area of the state. And you all know, as per National Forest Policy 1988, we have to have 33% of the forest cover. So if we are only having the land of 11%, how the 33% of forest cover can be created? So we are having very limited scope to creating the forest cover. Then the new dimension developed that you can create a tree cover outside of the forest area, notified forest area. So presently around 7.5% we are having the forest cover, and 3.5% we are having the tree cover. So in totality we are having around 11% is the green cover, against the 33% of the green cover required for the sustainability and the healthy life in Gujarat. So forest department is working outside of the forest area. So you must be knowing lot many projects are taken by the government and Gujarat Forest Department, and especially for the rural areas to double the income of the farmers, we have introduced a agroforestry model, and from last year onwards we are planting around 31,000 hectares of farmers' land with quality planting material. And they are all are short-term plantation activities, and the farmer can cut or harvest within 3 years, and they are getting around 5 to 11 rupees per kg of wood from their farms, and they are increasing their income from the agriculture land. So presently the forest department is more focusing on the agroforestry and tree outside of the forest. You must be, all intellectual must be knowing the India State of Forest report published by the Forest Survey of India in every 2 years, and this report is just released of ISFR 2023. And in that report, the Gujarat is number 1 in the tree cover percentage increase or the wood production. So Gujarat is increasing the tree cover afforestation outside of the forest area. So this is the income of the farmer, and to provide the raw material to the wood waste industries. We are having around 5,500 wood waste industries, and they require plenty of wood material to sustain those industries. So Gujarat Forest Department, with the collaboration with the local farmers, and some of the industries are also coming on its own to making the MOU with the farmers to have the sufficient raw material to the industry surrounding their industries, because transportation is the real problem in the forest produces. So for the educating for sustainable action, the Gujarat or the forest department for the conservation of our natural forest, eco-development activities, our wildlife activities, national park sanctuaries, wetlands, and the tree outside of the forest, and even we are just lacking the urban forestry. So this year government is also focusing to have some Miyawaki or the Miyawaki and One Kavach models in urban areas also. Because we are the urbanized state, so we have to focus on the environment of the urban areas also. So this is all the sectors where the CSR fund can be utilized properly, and in future whatever policy we have made for utilizing these funds, it is put up to the government. If government approved it, then the Gujarat Forest Department can also work with all the industries. They are working with us, and they are also intend to work for the nature conservation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's really unfair to cut you out because you were really talking with the passion. And I think so, Kartik, it will be a great advantage to have him once we are having a whole set of people to really benefit from the points which he mentioned, One Kavach and Miyawaki plantations. And congratulations to you anyway, the Forest Department cover in India has increased. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a recent report, forest cover in India has increased. So thank you. Thank you very much, sir. Could I now take on to invite Ms. Neetu Kumar, Senior Manager CSR, Apraava Energy India, and I happen to be very fortunate to visit your office and have discussions there. Floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. I represent Apraava Energy. Apraava Energy is an energy company, so we are into the power generation end-to-end. We are into renewable energy, then solar, wind, transmission, and recently we started a metering business, also smart metering installation and all. Apart from that, we have another conventional power generation also in Jhajjar. When we are talking about CSR and role of CSR, government, NGO, while implementing for the development of our society, I feel it's a very interesting topic and very needed topic, and it is always a burning topic for all of us. Being a social professional, I feel working in collaboration is always very needed and very important for the development. So when we are talking about the partnership project, so if with the government or with the NGOs with the same purpose, so I'll just take a few examples like midday meal schemes, which is also known as PM Poshan Yojana, where government, NGO and corporate, all three are partnering and doing a very great job, which I understand. Whatever, but even though the need of midday meal through this project, only 2% is meeting. So if we collaborate in it in a further way, definitely this is going to give more benefit to the country. And we as Apraava also participated in construction of midday meal kitchens. We have one in Jorhat and another is in Telangana, near to our Veltur. So this is one example. Another example, which is not related to our three partnership development, but also a part of a development, that is revamp of distribution systems. So when we are talking about the partnership, so recently government also come up with a revamp distributions smart meter systems, where government is inviting private partner, where Apraava is also participating, and even in Gujarat we are doing smart metering, and that is really growing well. So I feel that is also very good to share with all of you. So that is another thing. When we are talking about the roles and the clarity about the partnering, how to flourish this, so I feel there should also clarity of the roles and responsibility of all the partners. There should be evaluation method to understand where we are progressing, are we progressing together, in what way. So that is another thing I feel. When we are talking about SGD, we are talking from some time about the SGD. So as a professional, what I think, CSR, if we see the Schedule 7, whatever the activity or the things is covered under the Schedule 7, is somehow it is linked with the SDGs also. And we are recently completed 1 decade after this law came in 2014. And now the industries are also very much serious about it. They are conscious about it. And they are also trying to partnering to meet the national development goal, we can say, through the SDGs. As we discussed that now the companies are preparing the IR report, Integrated Development Report, then we are also doing BRSR. So everywhere it is linked. So all we are trying to meet it. Still we have 6 years, and I think if all the corporates, all the partnering development partners and government will come together, we will definitely have we will reach to meet at least the SDGs goals. So thank you from my end. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Ms. Kumar. Every time I see the CEE common group, and I see Suman's work, it is tremendous. And I envy both of you that you do collectively an excellent work. Thank you very much for that. Excellent. That's what I envy. I say that. What a good connect, you know. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Now, could I also invite Miss Aishwarya Balasubramaniam to the dais, please. Deputy Manager with the HCL Foundation, and you're doing some excellent job in Noida and Greater Noida, where I live, with CEE. Floor is yours.
A very good evening to everybody. It's very humbling to share space with all the senior members here, and I'm here to share my observation and experiences that I've had during my limited time working for CSR. And initially I was asked to speak about what are the mechanisms that we use to, ensure accountability, like mutual accountability of all stakeholders in CSR. So I'd like to stick with that question. And for me, it's more about for HCL Foundation, which delivers the corporate social responsibility agenda of HCL Tech. We believe in a value that is partnerships. We work across all 17 SDGs, but for HCL Foundation, the most important SDG is SDG 17, building partnership for goals, working in convergence with community members, NGO partners, government, educational institutions. And that's been very, very important for us, and that's the that's how we work, building partnerships and convergence model. And again, how we start is usually when we work in collaboration with multiple stakeholders, we begin with mutually agreed vision and mutually agreed expectation and targets with our partners, where we co-ideate, co-create and co-implement our projects. And I'm not going to take too much time on that note. I thought I'll just give a small example of one of our water body conservation work that we do in Madurai down in south. This small, it's called Nila Urani. Urani in Tamil is pond. It's a 1.9 acre of Urani that was almost vanished from the memory of the communities that was living around, and even almost from the revenue. The only thing that existed was it was still on the revenue records. So we, along with the Madurai Corporation, the revenue department, our NGO partner and the local community, we thought that we have to work in this water body, and we did an initial topographical survey where that revealed that this particular 1.9 acres of Urani had a holding capacity of 10,000 liters. But once we started our desilting work with our NGO partners, we were able to increase the storage capacity to 10 lakh liters. And again, now over the last couple of years now, the Nila Urani has created a Nila Urani Conservation Association, which is led by the local community members there, and they are monitoring and they are maintaining it, and hopefully for the generations to come, they will do it. And the other thing is, it's not only about, this is just a very, very small example of the work that we do in partnership with various stakeholders, but there are a lot of examples, and water has been one of the key areas that we are working in, and I'm happy to share that we've been able to rejuvenate 102 water bodies across the country, and we have harvested 81 billion liters of water, and we have also been acknowledged by the government, and we have received the National CSR Award recently for our work in water, and we truly believe that is just the beginning, and we have a long way to go. And as far as water, this particular case study is also concerned, it's not about an environmental impact or just water, harvesting capacity that has increased, but also the social impact that it has created. During our meetings with community members, this is the beautiful story of a parent who was part of the community, and the school had their daughter had just finished their education. And we also have awareness programs around these water bodies, and the parents realize the importance of their daughter pursuing her higher education, and they stopped the wedding, and the girl is now studying in her college. And this is, there are many examples, and we are running short of time, but I'll be happy to discuss and learn a lot more. But again, I want to reiterate by saying, for us, partnering for our people, planet, peace, and prosperity is the central goal of HCL Foundation and the larger HCL Tech as a company. That's what we believe in. And thank you so much for the opportunity, and thanks for listening.
Thank you very much, Aishwarya ji. And I really see that you value partnerships. It's such a joy to be with such an august audience here. I know because CEE is going across by year, and the commissioners and the CEOs of the authorities in the cities are very happy because their cities are getting better. Many more water bodies to be protected. The forest officers sitting with us would be very happy to see that these things are happening. Thank you very much. We are coming to the last gentleman, and he truly has a very diverse experience, Mr. Savant Godiwala. Before I call you, he's been an IMA professor for 17 years and has been on mergers and acquisitions, a leader, and also has been an investment banker. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Sodhi. Shri Kartikeya bhai, Sara bhai, my co-panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Last speaker, but I have a lot of things to take home from the earlier panelists and my panelists and fabulous work which is happening. But I would also like to tell you a little story about my own self, because of course I'm not an institution, NABARD and Forest and Energy Company, that I myself took up one goal of a net zero as a family. And I and my family, we came together, we were constructing a new building, new house. So one thing, before we broke the ground, we were clear that we will have a platinum certified green residential home. It's just the basic thing to happen, that at least we will not disturb as much an environment building something just haphazardly. Then we went to next level, that I will produce my own energy. So all energy that I consume at the place that which has a green cover of 70 or 80% that we stay. So there's a green 70%. Of course, Kartikeya bhai, CEE is a story which everybody wants to replicate. Mine is also maybe 80% green. All energy that we consume are generated by me. I recharge 15 lakh liters of water in the ground, just giving away by recharging it every year. So that's what all the waste generated in the house is composted. We have big compost pits in the house and so we're trying to, the purpose is that what Lalbhai said, Mr. Lalbhai said, that earlier it was a philosophy that we are giving back to the society for whatever purpose, whether it is Schedule 7, Section 135 now, or earlier that yes, education, number of institutions that we are seeing, or then that philosophy should become a DNA, and that should become a culture, and that culture becomes habits. And then you flow in such a manner that the plastic bottle or plastic would not come into your house. Naturally, you don't have to make an effort over a period when you become that. So that has to become now a DNA of the corporations. It's just not about. So this is one. On the AMA side, I'm also representing Ahmedabad Management Association, founded by none other than our respected Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. We have Kartikeya bhai also on the board for AGs, who is our philosopher, guide for so many things, and certainly for anything sustainable that we look at. But at AMA, we do a lot of programs. We are a skilling company, firm, it's an NGO. And that's where, but we said that this charity has to begin at home. At AMA, we converted all the classrooms, Kartikeya bhai, into energy efficient classroom. We changed the panels, boards, acoustics, everything, so that we consume one less energy. Two, We are installing huge, 100 kilowatts of solar also now to make sure that we cannot just be teaching people how to become sustainable. But I have a better perspective of what Kartikeya, you started this panel discussion or this session, where you said that the business guys have a perspective, they bring it a strategy to it. They know how to implement something to ultimately realize a goal, because a business has to do with an outcome. So I have been a partner at Deloitte 20 years as an investment banker, and at Deloitte I have a very good stories to say. We had Danish guys, Denmark guys along with the IGBC who came and did surveys with us for 3 years continuously. And in the survey, the outcome says that if you are having an office, we were not a factory, we were a consulting firm globally, an office in a green building where you have all the standards which are also green, your desks are also green, and the air conditioning is also coming from a water cooling rather than some gas, then the employee satisfaction is higher than the employee next door in the next building, and the employee retention is better. Now imagine these are the perspectives coming up from having I'm extending a CSR, not that I'm writing a check for a CSR at all. I am just housing the office in a green building which is reducing the power usage and reducing the fossil fuel usage in the world. And then this takes to the next level, that when I am talking to my clients, and my clients, when we say that yes, this CSR is important, and I think somebody mentioned about BRSR. BRSR has become now important reporting for the first 1,000 listed companies, and it will go on and it will ultimately come to even SMEs. BRSR is business responsibility and sustainable reporting. In this case, the clients whom we are, that they say that BRSR, yes, it is enforced on us, it's become a policy and for a larger company, but the smaller guys, when they do a reporting of the nature of BRSR, because they are not supposed to be complying with it, they get a better response from their customers, especially the multinational customers as of now. They see that even if you are a little less competitive, you get business because you are in a sustainable phase. The way you are doing, you're doing CSR for sustainability, you're doing within your way of working culture, you have sustainable ways of doing business. You are a preferred vendor to the customer just because, not that you are purely competitive, but you are doing something additional. With that, customer is also getting a brownie point when he is selling further, or he is showcasing himself in the market, or when he is writing his BRSR report. So it's a, it's a kind of a system which goes into, it percolates, or it has an effect which multiplies when there is an ecosystem and a culture and a DNA created. One important thing that Mr. Lalbhai mentioned was project versus program. That urgency. Now when I have a 2% to spend under section 135, I will have that to be spent because I am supposed to be reporting it. In the process, I am taking up short-term projects also. So one is, can we have that ecosystem, and that is where CEE's kind of institutions can play a big role, that you have a program. He mentioned that one fellow doing one, another doing one, both of them may be doing a climate change related program, but isolated small program. If they come together and create a larger, or have somebody like CEE or any such agency who understands implementing large programs, that is something. And at Ahmedabad Management Association, we have taken a very big initiative where we are trying to create a platform, which was, I think, initially mentioned also. They bring in the corporates who are obliged under the CSR, as well as bringing in a lot of NGOs who are already in the phase where they can implement, and then we try to see that the corporate requirement is the impact assessment. So if there is an impact assessment available and the NGOs are, then this is kind of a platform that we are in. And I just last week told one of our members that we should do these programs much more than what we are doing. Lot of companies do not know where to write a check. They say they'll just write to Prime Minister Relief Fund, and that is also my CSR contribution, which is valid under Section 135, just because want of the agencies who could implement. So I think, well, thanks again Kartikeya bhai for inviting me and giving me this opportunity. And this is across the board, whether it's NGOs, whether it's corporates, whether it's individuals, whether it is, and we have to create a culture of within 40 years, one people tree on a CEE campus becoming a forest is something. This was a one people tree campus, as I understood before just an hour, and you can see what a place that it is now. So, and certainly, sir, I know you're doing a fabulous role in afforestation. It is the time that we have this afforestation as a movement more than just an initiative that we would have. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. You are an inspiration. I must say that. Net zero point which you mentioned, each individual has to become net zero in case we have to achieve that. But each one of you are an authority in your what you said, and my all words of appreciation and all from CE side, you spared your time having come here and shared your thoughts. Congratulations to each one of you. I just want to say one word in 30 seconds, that is, every drop of water per second when it falls, we get 10,000 liters of water in a year, and we only drink 2,000 as the max. You know, if we can save that one drop of water going away from our taps or from our societies and houses, we will save ample amount of water. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a joy to be with you.
Thank you very much, all distinguished panel members, and thank you, Sodhi sir, for moderating this session. I would like to request Sodhi sir to facilitate our panelists with the traditional case. Thank you, everyone. Now I would like to request Kartikeya Sarabhai ji for the closing remark.
There is no closing remark really required. It was fascinating to hear each one and so many notes about what we do, because they are all practical ideas of how we go forward. We respect the partnerships with both the CSRs who are on this panel, and their deep relationships which we've had and the insights brought. So I think we have now, we are picking up a high snack, and then there is a show at Darpana which everyone is invited to. So I won't take time now, but again, from my side, deep thank you.